Hi, it's me, INFP, and I went to Pride in Stockholm last weekend, and we had a lot of fun. I went there with my ISFJ friend and my ENFJ friend, and we hopped in and out of different groups. Stockholm Pride is really big, 50,000 people, 184 groups, 4.5 kilometers. Several hours of marching or dancing or whatever. We went into the groups in and out of those that we felt like we had a connection with and those that had the best music. So I was following the union groups, and then there was also the Social Democrat groups. I went to that, the leftist. But also some other groups. I did have a wardrobe malfunction because of my period, so we had to take a break and find a bathroom. And we had a lot of fun though. Of course, there are tensions throughout the world, and so it is reflected. There are some people who don't like Pride and don't like certain other ideas that are being spread around. But all in all, it was a really good experience. And we saw certain people that we knew on the way. There was this one friend who was a pastor, but he came and hugged me from behind, which kind of shocked me, but it was fine. And then there was this other friend, or acquaintance rather, that I'd met working for a digital doctor 2017. We've been replaced by AI, so that job doesn't exist anymore, but I was only there a short amount of time. But so I saw her there. Stockholm is quite small compared to like other capital cities in the world. And then we met up with some other Italians. There's a whole group of Italians like helping each other, and their friendships are really wonderful. But I wanted to talk about my best friend, and it's the ISFJ friend. And this is a video just gushing about love for him. And we've been friends for 11 years. He's an ISFJ, I'm an INFP. He's neurotypical, that I know of, has a lot of anxiety. I am autistic, late diagnosed almost a year ago now. We've seen everything. Basically, we've been through everything together for the past 10 years or so. And what happened during this weekend is we had a deep conversation about something that I think strengthened our friendship. And, we're not romantically involved, and, we're not married, even though some people have thought that about us. We are just really, really good friends, and it's an intimate relationship that is really important to the both of us. And I think that we need to remind each other of that sometimes. We are each trying to, we stay committed to this, and we have a really solid foundation for our friendship. So I don't see it ending anytime soon. I think that we will stay friends for a really long time. Hopefully for life, but we never know what life gives us. But I think that it's a beautiful thing that we have. And so what happened later on is that we were quite tired after walking and dancing that whole time and watching all of the stuff and all of the music and the loud noises and everything. I had brought my loops with me and stuff. But yeah, it was time to go to a gay bar. And so we went to, the biggest gay bar in town, which was the place to be. Unfortunately, it was quite very crowded. And my friend had brought another friend of his with him. Now, when I say friend, I don't know what the dynamic was, and that confused me a bit. And since I'm autistic, I have a hard time with difficult social dynamic situations where I don't really have a clear map of how to navigate it. So since I was already tired and that happened, and then what happened is also that we danced, and it was fine at first, but then it got so crowded that I started tripping on my own feet. I ended up feeling the claustrophobia and feeling the meltdown coming, basically. So I'll talk about that later, but we had a social interaction with this extra friend. My INFJ friend had left a long time before then because she had another party to go to, right? But this other friend, I think, was also an ENFJ. Even though this was the first time I met him, that's what I would guess he is. Very charismatic guy, very generous person, a person. He was really, charismatic, I think, and somebody who really wants to go deep with people quickly. Thing is, he didn't reveal much about himself, but he went very quickly into psychoanalysis mode of like being your therapist, which is something that ENFJs tend to do. Even as I was trying to keep things surface level, because I don't know this guy, he started asking me about relationships and tricky questions, and I was like, I'm not interested in anything right now. I'm not looking for anything. I'm prioritizing my work. It's not the right time. That's that kind of thing. But he could sense that I wasn't being truthful, really. And I didn't want to get into the whole fact that I'm asexual and that I'm autistic and that relationships are difficult for me and all that. I didn't want to get into that. But yeah, so he was kind of forcing things out of me, and I was like, I don't want to, and I sort of froze. And so my ISFJ friend actually came to the rescue and said, don't push her, you can push me instead. And such a self-sacrificing thing of him defending me. But so the focus ended up being on my friend. And thing is, I know that my friend is insecure about certain things. We all have our insecurities. But it felt like the person that my friend should talk to is not this guy. It's somebody else. A therapist or me. Not that I think that I have so much good advice to give, but someone safe, or that he can process this on his own. But I don't think that this friend of his was somebody that he should have these very, very sensitive discussions with. So it was a little bit of a conundrum. How do we do this? I think that the ENFJ friend noticed that I was feeling uncomfortable, and so he decided that, okay, let's go to the dance floor. The problem is that I started realizing while I was dancing and that there was so many people, I felt like I was going to faint or something. I realized I wasn't having a good time. I'd been having a good time all throughout the day, but it was overstimulating too much. I was overwhelmed, and suddenly I felt like I'm going to cry. And I did cry. I went to the bathroom first, and then I went back trying to find a seat so that I could drink, and then I drank on my own. And then my ISFJ friend came and found me and to check up on me, I guess. And it was a good thing that he did that, because I started crying when I saw him, and then we went outside. And my ISFJ friend actually stayed with me, did not demand anything out of me, did the right things to do in meltdown mode, and really just, asked me like, just what am I feeling? And he gave me time. I said I was feeling disappointed in myself, and he said, no, I'm proud of you. He said, please don't think that I'm disappointed with you, because I am proud of you. You have done so much socializing today. We've done so much and had such a good time. If you want to go home, here's the keys. So I went. Well, so in the end, after having a hard time deciding due to my meltdown, I took the keys and I went to his house. I was crying on the train, and I was crying when I was at his house, because I was feeling overwhelmed, and I couldn't make myself do the bed and brush my teeth and everything. I ended up doing all that in the end and going to sleep. And my friend came later, like an hour later, home, but I was already asleep. And the next day we had a really good discussion, in that he told me that he was proud of me for all of that I did. He said I handled the social situations really well, and that I used to, a few years ago, maybe not be able to handle these things at all. And sure, in a way, it's kind of like he's kind of encouraging me to mask, but I could sense that wasn't what he was meaning. What he was meaning is that he could see how much energy, this socializing things, these social skills, how much work I had put into this, and that this is work that nobody else sees. And he has seen me throughout these 11 years of us being friends. He has witnessed me at certain points in my life, and he knows it's not easy for me, and that I've been doing all this work in order for us to have a good time. And I think that is very important for him as an ISFJ, to know that I am doing my best so that we can have a good time. I think that in the past he has maybe held some resentment without really knowing it, about me being just weird and not being able to do the social things that he wanted to do. So he's had to do all of the social things on his own, and I'm like the oddity that he shows around. But he's never seen me as the oddity, It's just that he hasn't really understood what it was that made me different. Now that he knows that I'm autistic, and we've had more open conversations about these things, I think that we're, connecting in a way. So he said that, and then I said, I'm proud of you too, and I'm happy to see you have also grown throughout the years, because several years ago you wouldn't have given me the option to leave. You wouldn't have sat with me while I cried it out. And in the past, you might have pushed me into making a decision quickly. Well, this time you sat with me. And he said, yes, he had also been working on trying to see what feelings I could be feeling in when I'm overwhelmed, and what I would like in that situation. And so we were both really happy and proud of each other in these situations. Notice that I was not having a panic attack like I thought I was. In the past, I thought that these things were panic attacks. It wasn't social anxiety that was hindering me from enjoying, staying at the party. What was, I didn't care what people, it wasn't like people were judging me. What was stressing me out was the social interactions that was confusing, and the sensory overwhelm, and also, the tiredness making me, worse at both of those first two things. And also the fact that things were not going according to plan also kind of dysregulates me. So it makes perfect sense that would have been overstimulating for me as an autistic person. But the fact is, so my ISFJ friend and me, we're very different in the way that our cognition works, but we don't need to understand each other really deeply in order to have a solid connection, a solid foundation to base our friendship on. We are, we are two separate people. Together we're stronger. Like, we haven't merged into one. And I think that is a common mistake in relationships, of people merging into one, rather than being our two separate beings, but influencing each other in a positive manner, helping each other. So I think that we have both helped each other in our separate different ways, because he is often there, maybe he's a little bit of his emotional support. Mostly he's, there to provide stability, but it's also that I have found stability within myself, which makes all this also stronger. I can't rely on him to provide me all the stability that I need in my life. But it does regulate me, where he makes me tea, he made us pancakes in the morning. All that, I think that it's really regulating for me, especially as an autistic person, but also as an intuitive who has a hard time figuring out what sensory things would actually help me in the physical world. So he has helped me with all of that. But I also provide things for him. I provide him with a lot of ideas that he can ponder on, because ISFJs, it's easy to underestimate ISFJs, but they are really analytical, they are really smart. They do have an inner world and imagination, a creative side. It doesn't often come up because they often prioritize other things first, like everybody else's needs and wants. But, I think that I've helped my ISFJ friend. We've both grown on our own, but we also help each other on our path of growth. So I think that I've helped him on seeing his own path of trying to parse out his own values outside of what everybody else is thinking. He's not afraid to be himself around me, I'm sure that there are certain sides of himself that he hasn't shown to anybody else but me. There is a kind of intimacy there. And so I provide him with all of these sparks of ideas. And weirdly enough, I can also calm him down. Just like he calms me down, I can actually calm him down too, because I can see outside of this, very concrete world. I can look a little bit outside of that box, a little bit, in general. During Pride, he was actually asking me what the colors. He's so innocent. He didn't know what the colors of the intersectional Pride flag were. So I was like, okay, well, this is the trans flag, and then this is the people of color part, that comes from the Black Lives Matter. And he was so curious and excited to learn about these things. And then once our common ENFJ friend, the one who came to the parade at the beginning, when she came, he started explaining to her what the colors of the flag meant. And she already knew, but he felt the need to rely this knowledge. Also, another thing happened to us after Pride, where this random dude just came and asked me, or everybody, but but mostly me because I was wearing all these pins. He said, "How many genders are there?" And I thought that he was going to take out his phone and like start filming us for a TikTok or something. You know, some people do that. I don't know if he was genuinely interested in the answer, but nobody really has that answer. And I got flashbacks of like Trash Discourse's video about gender, which I'll link in the description. But I was like, how much time do we have? Can I info dump about this with this person? I decided to just keep it short. I was like, well, you know, there are many genders. That's what I said. But I also said there could be no genders. It could be all. We don't know. But my ISFJ friend was really interested in this idea. And I was like, you know, there isn't an answer. But he thought that I had all the answers about this. And I was like, yeah, no, nobody knows this except for Trash Discourse, of course. But so, yeah, there was that. So he's actually interested in these theoretical theories that I didn't know that he would be interested in. Another thing that happened is that we met with our INTJ friend from medical school. The next day we ate ice cream and we came across a building that was around this color. And my ISFJ friend actually asked the INTJ, what color is the color of that building? Would you say that it's yellow or that it's green? And the INTJ was like, when did you suddenly become interested in these kinds of questions? And he was like, oh, Ingrid and I have these kinds of discussions all the time. And the INTJ was like, oh, so you guys just bicker about things like an old married couple. And it was like, yeah, that's not the point, but yeah, we have these kinds of discussions. And yeah, I've had these kinds of discussions with him, but I've always been the one initiating them. So the fact that he, I don't know, he kind of like, I guess that like I'm kind of like his source, his muse of source of inspiration or something, I guess. So like, I didn't know that this was something that he was actually interested in. I would just ask these questions because, you know, I like these kinds of questions. But I didn't think that he was actually, you know, like he's going outside of the realm of appropriate social discussions to start talking about these weird, silly ideas that I have. Which is a huge progress compared to how he used to be, you know? Nothing against him, you know, we're all on our path of growth. But so just as much as he has seen my growth, I have seen his growth. And we don't understand each other, like we don't have the sparks of, you know, like intuitive to intuitive conversation. We don't have that kind of telepathy. But we've been around each other so long that we've become intimate with each other that we can see and know so much about each other that it is natural. It flows naturally. It's almost like we're siblings or something, you know. We're there for each other and know so much that we don't need that specific soulmate level of understanding in order to care for each other, in order to love each other, you know. And I think that love, you know, it's not passionate, it's not that kind of thing, but it is strong. I also think that it's funny that we keep like defending each other when we sense that the other one is like feeling uncomfortable with somebody else. I think that's deep down my ISFJ friend prioritizes this friendship very highly. And I do too. And so instead of getting into this weird kind of limerence, which I have probably done in the past with certain of my friends, and it hasn't turned out great, I think that this is a true, not like it. This is leading to more emotional stability rather than emotional instability, like I have done in the past. I think that my brain easily starts, idealizing people and that kind of thing. But I've seen my friend with all of his flaws. Like the last time that I had a meltdown and he didn't help me out. And I think that he's now thought about his actions of that last time and realized that, oh, that was not good. So that's why he rectified it this time that I had a meltdown. It's a shame that I keep having meltdowns so often, but the fact that, I know how to deal with them better and my friend is learning how to deal with them better is such a rare thing, and I'm really grateful for that. And it just, it makes me emotional because it's really such a strong thing that we have. So that's all I'm going to say for today. Tell me in the comments if you have an ISFJ friend in your life. I think that we connect a lot through the SI, but mostly we connect with the NE, SI, and that can lead to a lot of overthinking, like that ENFJ who was poking at our vulnerabilities. He told us that you guys are both overthinkers. ENFJs sometimes lack some tact. It's kind of weird to say because ENFJs, you think that they'd be, due to their FE, that they'd be really tactful. But sometimes they're a little bit too aggressive, I guess, in terms of that. But he was right about the overthinkers. I think ENFJs have the in the moment thing of the FE-SE, mostly the SE thing, that makes you really go in the moment and, be chill with whatever is happening at that instant. While I think that both the ISFJ and the INFP are more, introverts, a little bit more cautious, I would say, and less, more in their head, I guess, and less in the moment. And so I think that we do connect on that. I do think that it does make us a certain kind of person and a certain kind of doctor in our profession. And we do connect on that. But weirdly enough, even though we're two anxious people, we actually calm our anxieties together in a complementary way. So tell me about the ISFJs in your life. Tell me about your friends, your relationships, whoever you love and respect and enjoy the company of. I'd be happy to hear about all that. Thank you for listening to this video and have a great day, everybody. Bye.